Greetings, everyone. This is going to be part 2 of how to play the Sonic 1 special stage. Some tips on sort of how to make your own arrangement. I think in part 3 I'll show you how I actually do my arrangement. For this one I'm going to expand a little bit on what makes the special stage music work beyond the basic music theory, and we'll get into some things like accompaniment styles, some things that you guys can try on your own. And that'll be for some left hand ideas, some right hand ideas, and another idea. And we'll just kind of see where we go from there. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and sit down here for this so I'm not trying to look at a weird angle up on the screen here. Okay, now one thing that I mentioned in part 1 was that I was just showing you the basic chords. Like there was the F chord, the E minor, the D, and the C chord. Then also the B flat chord was there too. Now, all of these are actually going to be 7th chords, okay? So let me explain what that is. You've got a chord here, which is built in on skips, every other key, every other letter, or this one there, okay? Now, a 7th chord means a chord that's 7 letters big, 1, 3, 5, 7, okay? So, an F major 7 chord, so it's major, it's a major chord, and it has a major 7th on here too. Okay. Now the major 7th, in case you're not sure where to find it, is right next to a full octave away. Because remember how the music alphabet keeps repeating over itself? Like here's C there in front of the group of 2, here's another C, and here's another C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. It keeps going up like that, okay? So just less than an octave, only one key less than an octave, is what we call the major 7th. Well, okay. I'll just go ahead and, while I'm on the subject, I'll just tell you about the intervals here. Let's go ahead and we'll start with C here. Now, from one letter to the next is a second, to the next letter is a third, so C to D, that's a second, one letter to the next. C to E is a third, C to F is a fourth, C to G is a fifth, C up to A is a sixth, up to B is a 7th, and then up to C is the octave. Now, that's just dealing with what's in its scale. The scale means whatever white or whatever black keys it might need to use. If you start from C, you don't really need black keys, so that makes it easy. Now, there are bigger and smaller ones, okay? So there's C, and then there's a minor second, which really sounds dissonant, and then you have the major second. Minor means smaller, major means bigger. I thought I said I wasn't going to do music theory. Oh well. I'm explaining why it's a major 7th, so just go with it. So, there's the minor second, which is smaller than a major second. Okay? There's a minor third, and then there's the major third, which is the smaller third and the bigger third. Now, fourths don't have major or minor. We call them perfect intervals, because they have a nice pure sound. Now, if you can hear the third, if you can hear that wah-ing back and forth, that really fast beating sound, a lot of intervals have that except for perfect intervals. The fourth is a lot more smoothly flowing, so is the fifth. There's a little bit of wah-ing in here, but it's okay, fifths can have that a little. Now there's the tritone, which is in between the 4th and the 5th. So you can either call it an augmented 4th, which means you made it taller, or a diminished 5th, which means you made it shorter. Now there's also the minor 6th, and then a major 6th, which means the smaller 6 and the bigger 6. The small 7, which is the minor 7, which is one of the ones that we're going to use, and then the major 7, which is the bigger 7, until you reach the octave. Now, the 7ths are the ones that we're going to be dealing with, okay? There are major 7ths and minor 7ths. There are also dominant 7ths, but I don't think we're going to be using them necessarily. Okay, so starting off, the first chord in the beginning of the special stage is the F major 7th chord. Because it's major 7th because it's almost right up to the octave. Now, E minor 7th. It's a minor 7th because not only is it a small third, that would be the bigger third, that's the small third, and then this is the small 7 because this is the bigger seventh. That's almost to the octave. So it's a minor chord with a minor 7. So E minor 7, D minor 7, for the same reasons that that this is a minor 7, this is also a minor 7 for the same reasons. Now this is the C major 7th. Major because it's almost up to the full octave, but it's just under that, okay? So and I find the easiest way to do those is to go 5, 3, 2, 1. 3 and 2 can stretch a little bit, and then we already know from the last video that thumb can stretch out. So your forefinger's just kind of sitting there, but we're just not going to use it right now. Okay. Now the only other one is the B flat major 7. Okay, so here's the B flat chord. The full octave would be right there, so just less than an octave is the 7. Okay, is what that is there. Okay, now let's try putting those chords in with the melody. Okay, so take a listen to this. Let me try it up here just for kicks, see what you think of this. So this is just sharing for a second. So it's interesting. I like that. The reason that I like 7th chords so much is because they do have that shimmering aspect, which by itself sounds dissonant, but when you pair them up as with their perfect fifths, or by the thirds stuck together, which glue the sounds very nicely together, it has a shimmering, like a sparkling sound. It's just so beautiful. I love that. So that's 7th chords, okay? Now, oh, wait, I forgot. Oops. Okay, now on this one, before I told you you could just use a G chord, but that was the beginning bit. What actually happens is you have an F chord, or maybe a D minor chord, or a D minor 7, if you want to put it all together, over top of the G sound. Now, if you've got hands that can stretch like I do, then you can get away with this. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the D minor chord and my 5 for a stretch of a 9th, which is just bigger than an octave. So, which just gives it a nice sort of sound, which is a little bit, I think it's nicer than having I just think that has a nice ring to it. And then you just settle back to, it just is a nice smooth transition. It just flows very nicely into it. Okay, so that's enough of that. Now let's talk about accompaniment styles here, okay? Accompaniment is what you use to flesh out the harmonies to support the melody. Now what I just did for you is just block chord. It's very basic, it's very elementary sounding. But if done properly, you can really make it sound pretty nice. Like let's just say I'm going to break this chord here. Breaking the chord means instead of hitting it in a block, I'm just going to maybe do it a little bit. Now if you listen to the recording, if you listen to the original song, you hear sort of this. That's in the background. It just sort of does that. Let's take that and put it down in the left hand. Oh, and then what it actually does is it steps up. So So you're getting a little closer to how it sounds in the game just by breaking it up a little. Stretch to the 7th if you want to. Like that. And then I'll do it up here. Okay, now for this one, yeah, again, you can, or maybe let your right hand help out a little bit. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, letting the right hand help. So that's one way you can do it, just doing broken chords. Now, the other way that also sounds like the game is what we call the boom chick, or boom chuck, or something like that, where you do a low note and a chord, like this. And then after that, you might need your right hand to help you out, or just kind of stretch. See, I can reach tenths. Maybe you can't, but I can, and so I really get to enjoy using that. So, but that's kind of the idea, is boom checking. So you can jump to the chord. Now, the pedal comes in handy too. I didn't tell you about that. You've got 3 pedals. Sometimes you've got 2, but you've got 3 pedals, and on rare occasions you got 4, but you're not going to use that. This is the pedal you're going to use, like the gas pedal. The one all the way on the left, or no, the one all the way on the right. That's the one you're going to use. It can blur your sounds together, so that way you can do a move like this without having to. That would be without the pedal, but this is with the pedal. And you have to lift the pedal to clean your sound every once in a while. Hang on. So this is me lifting the pedal, so that way you can see when I do that. Now, let's put that with the right hand and see how that sounds. That sounds nice because you got a nice full range of the piano. You're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4 octaves, basically, or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you're dealing in about 4 octaves range. That gives you a nice spread of sound. That's very nice. So that's called the boom chick. Now you could even do what we call inversions, where you take a chord and you flip it around, or you flip it around again, where you're using the same letters, but you're just using higher or lower versions of it, like this. Say I take this here. I'm going to cut and paste this F over here. That's one inversion. Now let's say I cut and paste the A over here. That's another inversion. If I were to cut and paste again, I would just be an octave higher of what I was already doing. Same idea. So let's say you wanted to. And then you could, that's just a way of giving it a little bit more movement. Oops. Hang on. I have my way that I'm so used to doing it that when I try to do something else, I have to think about it a little bit. That's okay. Even experts make mistakes. Never be afraid of mistakes. I had a teacher once who said, I want big mistakes. Big mistakes are easy to fix. Okay. Now, so that's the boom chucking sort of bit there. Now, that's all about the left hand. Let me tell you a little bit about what you can do with the right hand. You can let your right hand help you. You don't just have to play one note. Don't play like this. You don't have to just play one note at a time with the right hand. Your right hand can help out too. Let's say that you've got your note on top. That's the melody. Melodies are easy to hear on top. You can add notes down below that would fit. Well, how do I know which ones to use? Well, just pick one of the ones that are down here. Okay? Here's an A there. I'll use an A here. Oh, that sounds nice. I'll use a B here. That's nice. It's got a nice spread to it. Or I could, if I wanted to, I could do that because I've got D here, so I'll use a D there. Now this E is separate from here, which is fine. I can use any of these. I could use that if I wanted that extra little bit of angst in there. Or I could, which is a little bit of cleaner sound, or I could do that, but I would probably prefer either this one or this one. I could use a B here. I could, or I could use the G to make it feel a little bit more stable because it's part of the regular chord. So you can borrow those chord tones and just slip it underneath. Or you can do that. You don't have to use 2. You can use 3 or 4 if you want. You could completely flesh it out up here. It's like, whoa, you just jumped like 3-4 levels there. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using all of those same letters that we were doing, and I'm just letting my other fingers catch them down here. Nice trick is if you're doing something like this, the sideways, the thumb, you could do this. That's a neat trick that I always like to use. So that's all I'm doing is I'm just really fleshing it out really thickly. I'm making it nice and rich in the right hand. And if you do that with a simple left hand, I can do that. Okay, now that one is a bit of a stretch. That's a 10th. I have to roll that one. So I'm keeping my left hand nice and simple while my right hand does the most of the work. Which again was that sort of that D minor chord. I'm cutting and pasting this up here, and then I've got the G of the melody up here with a G in the bass there. Okay, so that's a way that you can really thicken up your right hand, is just throwing in those extra, what we call chord tones, which just means the letters of the chord that you're using, whether it's F, A, C, E, or the E, G, B, D, or the D, F, A, C, or the C, E, G, B. Okay, so that's what you can do up there. I like to use octaves myself. I like to use octaves. I've got the hands to do them, and so I do that a lot. Now let's say that I just want to use octaves in my right hand only, while I let my left hand do all the work. Like this. That. Oh, let me say one other thing for the left hand. I can't believe I didn't say this one. Rolling your chord, rolling it out. This is what I usually use when I play my arrangement. Because you've got all 3 notes of the chord, the F, the A, the C. The F is here, the A is here, and the C is there. And it's all nicely spread out. It's got a nice, good sounding perfect interval down there with a nice sounding rich consonant interval. They call the thirds and the sixths consonant intervals. The second and the sevenths are dissonant because the second, well, here's the second, which is dissonant, and so is the seventh, which means they clash against each other unless there's something to glue them together. And then the thirds are more pleasing, and so is the sixth. So those are consonant intervals. So you have this nice consonant interval with a perfect interval, which gives you a nice sound here. So let me do octaves up here, and I'll break my chords up down here, or I'll roll them. Now notice that I have not yet played it the same way twice, unless I was demonstrating it to you more than once. I haven't done it the same way twice, which means that there's all sorts of different ways that you can mess with this one. Let me show you one more here. So what I did just use the octaves. Now listen how that had a very clean sound. But it's very low and it's very high, and there's not a lot in the middle, which is okay. You might want to do it that way. Maybe you like the clean sound, or maybe you want something that's, I don't know. Well, oh, never mind that one. Okay, let me show you one other thing before I wrap up, or else this video is going to be longer than it needs to be. I'm going to tell you about cluster chords. Cluster chords is when you put chords right up next to each other, really tight. Usually they're just larger groups of inversions. It's kind of like what I did with my right hand, but I'm just going to add my left hand and make more of it. And so you can add interesting flavors of it, because you might not always have the bass note on the bottom, the root note of it. So we would call that rootless chords, or bassless. It's bassless. You have no evidence for that. It's bassless. Sorry. I was just describing the Twitter mob. Like I said, when I'm fooling around, sometimes I have to think of what I'm doing. That's a way of doing it. You could do it up here. Well, I guess that was a rootless chord. Let's try this. So what I'm doing is I'm playing the 7th down here. So I'm playing a D minor chord that's inverted, and that 7th, I'm cutting it down here. So it has just a slightly different feel to it. And then I'm just sort of clustering up here. That's not right. So that's an interesting thing if you want to pretend like it's on the high strings and they're up there really high. Ooh, if you have a keyboard, you could try that on the high strings, especially one that has vibrato. That's kind of built into it, where it kind of the sound wavers a little bit. That would be gorgeous. Do it. Do it. Okay. All right, so those are some extra ideas that you can do to just have some fun with it and arrange it and make your own flavor or styling of it. Again, the basic idea is just stick with the chords that you've got. Oh wait, I didn't even try the... Oh yeah, you could mix styles. Let's say that I just do a chord and octaves. Not that way. What am I doing now? D minor. So, and it's fun, and that's what you do, is it's a process. You work it out and you see what you like. So, anyway, I think this video is long enough, so that's what I'm going to go with. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you find some ways to enjoy. It's like Bob Ross, you know. You just kind of you can use some ideas from it, but you don't have to do exactly what I do. Now, I think in the third video for this one, which will probably be the last one, unless I do a fourth one of how I did the minor one, if there's interest for that, I'll show you how I did mine, how I did my arrangement that I've put on YouTube. So then you can actually watch me doing it, and then you can see it for yourself. So until then, thanks for watching, and as always, may the force be with you.